Okay, can we hear me? Excellent. All right, good morning. It is wonderful to see you. I'm Lynn Higgins, and I'm your service leader today. Thank you, Steve, for this wonderful prelude. This was Morning Serenade by Sergei Prokofiev. Our opening words are going to be rather short. Today, our topic for discussion is going to be decolonizing our past and present. Decolonizing doesn't have to be a fearsome thing. It's more like a new day dawning, like a pulling back of the curtains and letting the sunlight into our society and into our soul. And fear is what we're seeing happening in all the conflict that we see around in critical race theory, all this wonderful thing in resistance. We can release that resistance, and we can release guilt, because this is an opening and a beginning to a new chapter in equality and gee, I just lost my words. Okay. Equality and justice for all, where we're sharing everything. So this is going to be quite interesting. I'm looking forward to the discussion. Now we're going to Rich. Will you come and light our chalice for us? Okay, we invite our remote attendees to join in lighting their personal chalice as we light this one to open our sacred space here in the sanctuary. Please join in repeating our invocation. In the light of truth and the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Okay, Christian is now going to lead us in our opening song, number 38 in your book, Morning Has Broken.
I'm sure most of you probably know the song by heart, but you also find it at number 38, Morning Has Broken. Let me just set these things up here for a moment. Good. Morning has broken like the first morning. Blackbird has spoken like the first bird. Praise for the singing, praise for the morning, praise for them springing fresh from the word. Sweet the rain's new fall, sunlit from heaven, like the first dew fall on the first grass. Praise for the sweetness of the wet garden, sprung in completeness where his feet pass. Mine is the sunlight, mine is the morning, born of the one light, Eden saw play. Praise with elation, praise every morning, God's recreation of the new day.
All right. Now it is time for the story for all ages. Charlotte is going to read us excerpts from a wonderful book by Barack Obama. And the title is Of Thee I Sing. Nice prompt.
So this is a book that he wrote for his daughters, and it's longer than what we have time for, but this is the church's copy. It's downstairs, and if you like it, I'm sure you could go down there and get it and read the rest of it. So, Of Thee I Sing, a letter to my daughters. Have I told you lately how wonderful you are, how the sound of your feet running from afar brings dancing rhythms to my day, how you laugh and sunshine spills into the room. And there's Sasha and, Malia, how that just flew out of my brain. Lynn, we have word things going on this morning. We're forgetting our words. It's contagious. Have I told you that you are creative? A woman named Georgia O'Keeffe moved to the desert and painted petals, bone, bark. She helped us see big beauty in what is small, the hardness of stone and the softness of feather. Have I told you that you are a healer? Sitting Bull was a Sioux medicine man who healed broken hearts and broken promises. It is fine that we are different, he said. For peace, it is not necessary for eagles to be crows. I'm going to read that again. This is a quote from Sitting Bull. For peace, it is not necessary for eagles to be crows. Though he was put in prison, his spirit soared free on the plains, and his wisdom touched the generations. Have I told you that you were kind? A woman named Jane Addams fed the poor and helped them find jobs. She opened doors and gave people hope. She taught adults and invited children to play and laugh and let their spirits grow wide. Have I told you that you're inspiring? A man named Cesar Chavez showed farm workers their own power when they felt they had none. The people were poor, but worked hard and loved the land. Cesar picketed, prayed, and talked. The people listened to their hearts and marched for their rights. Yes, you can, said Caesar. Or Cesar, sorry. Have I told you that America is made up of people of every kind? People of all races, religions, and beliefs. People from the coastlines and the mountains. People who have made bright light shine by sharing their unique gifts and giving us the courage to lift one another up, to keep up the fight, to work and build upon all that is good in our nation. Have I told you that they are all a part of you? Have I told you that you are one of them and that you are the future? And have I told you that I love you? Sorry.
Accessories here. Okay, thank you, Charlotte. Let's see now. We see, are we having children going down to their classrooms today? If so, let us sing them on their way.
Go your way in peace, wander as you may. Blessed is the path you take, may love guide you on your way.
And now, let's see, Steve will give us some candle lighting music, Claire de Lune by Claude Debussy, and Rich will light our, Rich is going to be a keeper of the flame while we come up and light a candle for joys and concerns in remembrance, while Steve gifts us with Debussy's Claire de Lune. Take it away, Steve. issues and concerns unspoken, and for those at home. Thank you so much, Steve. That was beautiful. And now, this is quite a perfect introduction to their meditation, and which will be led by Andy Foskey, our president.
Sir, can I say something briefly?
Go ahead.
My name is Ron Cummins, and a friend of mine and a better friend of my son was murdered this past Monday in Chicago. Her name is Sonia Khan, and I hope you all think of her and her family during this moment.
I'm so sorry to hear that, and thank you for sharing that with us. This morning, I am pleased to introduce a meditation based on Ram Dass, his meditation called Someone Like Me. And so get into a comfortable position. Rest your feet on the ground. Close your eyes if you wish. And I want you to imagine a person. It could be the person sitting next to you in the row, or someone at home, someone in your family, or maybe even someone that you have a conflict with, or maybe somebody that you find challenging to love. Because this exercise will help us increase our compassion towards others who are different than us. So as you imagine that person, I want you to think these phrases that I'm going to repeat. This person has a body and a mind, just like me. This person has feelings, emotions, and thoughts, just like me. This person has experienced joy, just like me. And this person has felt pain, just like me. Now, as you continue to think of that person, send them some wishes. I wish this person to be peaceful and happy. I wish this person to be loved. I wish this person to be free from pain and suffering. Because this person is a fellow human just like me. And so now we'll have our offertory, and Christian will be playing some special music. And as the plates come around, feel free to give. If this is your first time here, we know you're our visitor in our home. But if there's something that moves you in this service, just know that your donations will be gratefully accepted. And there are ways in your order of service to donate through your cell phone or the web. So take a look in there. You can text us a donation for you all who are members.
This song, it's called Mini Wichoni, Water is Life. Tom introduced Cicilline and me to this song kind of a few years ago, and we thought it's very fitting. All my relations come, every nation come. All my relations under the sun, we are one. We are praying, come. We are praying, come. We are the song and we are the drum. We are one. We are the river, come. We are the river, come. We are the boat that paddle the shore. We are one. Many with Joni sing. Many with Joni sing. Many with Joni, water is life for everything. We are the water, sing. We are the water, sing. We are the water, we are where all life begins. We are the ancient ones. We are the ancient ones. In your breath and bones we sing on. We are one. We are the new day, run, run, run. We are the new day, run, run, run. We are the old and we are the young. We are one. Many with Joni sing. Many with Joni sing. Many with Joni, water is life for everything. We are the earth and sky. We are the thunder cries. We are the fire. We are the light in your eyes. We are standing strong, like a rock, like a stone. On the sacred ground we belong. We are home. All my relations come. Every nation come. All my relation under the sun. We are one.
Now, please join with me in the offertory response that is in your order of service. We give these gifts freely, committed to our mission to care, create beloved community, awaken hearts and minds, resist injustice and act with compassion, embrace life and care for the earth. I feel like there's something else I say there, but I don't remember, so thank you.
All right, now we're going to find my right page here. Excellent. This gives a new definition to the word paraphernalia. Okay. All right, let's see. Okay, I'm delighted to welcome back to UC our friend Tom Kunish. He and wife Julie Kurtz Kunish have been a part of this community, it seems like forever, and raised their amazing daughters among us, Winona, Tashi, Kelly, and Leah. Can you believe Leah is 10 years old already? I went, what happened to the time? Okay, 2 years ago, the family moved to Mount Juliet in Nashville area. The girls are progressing right along and amazing. Among Tom's interests, he serves as president of Tennessee Ancient Sites Conservancy. He helps take care of Chickamauga Mound. He is involved in efforts to save Lincoln Park and the old Citico mountainside. He is doing a lot more meditation these days, these Sundays, with the Religious Society of Friends. Tom is not the only activist in the family. Wait, let me start that one over. Tom is not the only activist in the family. His sister, Patrice Kunish, has been nominated by President Biden to be the commissioner of the Administration for Native Americans, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services. Congratulations, Tom. Now, Tom's topic today is decolonizing our past and present. So please welcome Tom Kunish to the pulpit.
So good to be here. It was 3 years ago, next week. My daughter, we drove through Morningside Place off of Main Street today, and my daughter couldn't look. I'll talk about something that's more hard-ass now. Some opening words that are not connected to, or I did not write out first. One of the problems of inviting an activist is their sensitivities. What we know, what we feel, what we react to. One of the blessings of inviting an activist is learning other people's sensitivities and the knowledge that informs them. This morning I'm going to offend you. I'm pretty damn sure of that. Not intentionally, but because my language and my background are not the same as yours, even though as much as I'm going to try to find the places where we do intersect. So just some first things, decolonizing our language. I think last time I talked about caconyms. We know about synonyms, right? Words that sound alike. We know about antonyms, words that mean the opposite. We know about homonyms, words that sound the same but are different. Caconyms. Remember what caconyms mean? You know what caca is? Yeah. Caconyms, bad words, poopy words, shitty words. And I'm going to go through a couple of these ones that I really don't like. First of all, Indians are from India. All right? Indians are not from Turtle Island. Indians are thousands of miles away. Indigenous people are from here. This is Turtle Island. Native peoples are indigenous and have tribal names. America is a European name. It's not Turtle Island. America is the European name for a European colony of Spain, England, France, Netherlands, Sweden. It's Europe here. That's what America is. Calling people Native Americans does not make up for it. We are not Native Americans. We should not be named by European political exploration and exploitation. My family is Lakota, not Sioux. Another acronym whose negative etymology I invite you to look up on your own. But please don't ever use the word Sioux to me, and don't call me Indian or anybody else Indian. Now, Lynn is going to read some stuff. Oh, you were going to read some stuff. Okay.
I was losing my teeth, but I can do it.
Okay, well, we can send that out later because Secretary of Interior Deborah Haaland wrote some very good stuff on Indian boarding schools. And I think I'm going to refer to her as a collaborator. U.S. Secretary of Interior Deborah Haaland, Native, Indigenous person, collaborator. And she uses the term Indian all the time. It's because the USA, she's employed by the USA. She has to use the USA vocabulary. And so she repeats that word, Indian, all the time. I hate it. I understand it. The tribe that my family comes from is called the Standing Rock Sioux tribe. I hate it, but I just would prefer that you never use those words around me. What? I'm not going to, I want to get into, this is a long one. Okay. May not be so long, it's 14 size points, so it may look longer than it is, but Indian boarding schools are a hot topic these days. So my mom, our 13 kids' mom, is an enrolled member of the Standing Rock Lakota Oyate. Her dad, my grandpa's oldest brother, Collie, was sent from their home at Fort Berthold in North Dakota to Carlisle Indian School twice. The first time before my grandpa was born in 1901, the second time when my grandpa was 6 and his mom and the family had moved the family to St. Paul. In all, I have 5 relatives who went to what are considered boarding schools for Indigenous children. Jenny No Ears, Noga Wanichawin, who is Lakota from Standing Rock. She married my great uncle. She was born in 1865, and she was sent from ages 16 to 19 to Hampton Normal and Agricultural Institution at Hampton, what's now Hampton University in Hampton, Virginia. I don't know if you guys know about that. It's considered a traditional historical black college and university, but it was originally for Indigenous people. Her sister, Lucy No Ears, born in 1870, went from ages 16 to 19 and was expelled from Hampton Institute for bad conduct. She was described as a wanderer. She became a housekeeper and died by the age of 25. Helen Primo married, who is my cousin once removed, was born in 1880, and she was sent to St. Benedict's Industrial School for Girls in St. Joseph, Minnesota, right where I grew up, and from ages 14 to 20. My great-uncle Collie Kelly, born in 1893, was sent in 1901 to 1902 to the United States Indian School, Carlisle, Pennsylvania, ages 8 to 9, and then he was kicked out for not being enough blood. Then he did all of a sudden have more blood, and he was sent from 1908 to 1910, ages 15 to 17, and on October 13th, 1910, he ran away a second time, hopped a train in Youngstown, Ohio, slipped off the bottom rung, and had his leg cut off, foot cut off. In 1911, he was sent to Haskell Indian School, and in 1913, he ended up in the St. Cloud prison. Something I never knew about. It's right where we lived. Never knew that our great uncle had been sent to prison there. And then he married Josephine Two Bears in 1921. She had gone to Carlisle from ages 4 to 11, and she became the first female chief of the Standing Rock and the first female to graduate from Carlisle. So we'll send that Deborah Haaland thing out later on in email. in the newsletter. But as I was writing this, I said, I just want to sleep. I just want to sleep on this, to remain unconscious, to be free of any reaction that somebody could see or hear. I don't want to be pulled into playing this charade. So, now I start. Whew. While Lynn read the very good report of the first Indigenous U.S. Secretary of the Interior collaborator, it does not call the places concentration camps. It does not say straight out that the purpose of the camps was to kill the Indian, save the child. It does not say that the USA paid white Anglo-Saxon Protestants and Catholics to indoctrinate children into white Anglo-Saxon Christianity. It does not say that this was how the USA has converted millions of indigenous children into Americanism. Worse, it portrays the concentration camps as done, as ending in 1969, when in fact there are still 7 Christian indoctrination centers, metaphorically called schools, in operation today. De La Salle Blackfeet School, Browning, Montana, Red Cloud Indian School, Pine Ridge, South Dakota, St. Joseph Indian School, Chamberlain, South Dakota, St. Augustine Indian Mission, Winnebago, Nebraska, St. Mary's Mission School, Red Lake, Minnesota, St. Joseph Mission School, San Fidel, New Mexico, St. Charles Apache Mission School, San Carlos, Arizona. Another problem that Halen's report on USA concentration camps of indigenous children is that it sounds so alien to Chattanooga, Tennessee, when in fact, the U.S. American Board of Commissioners of Foreign Missions out of Boston, headquarters of the UUA, had one right here, just 3.5 miles due east of here, next to Chickamauga Creek by Eastgate, for 21 years. There's not much left to see from 184 years ago. A small cemetery of 60 graves. The small number belies the fact that it was closed down when the USA government and Army racially cleansed the minds of Cherokee children with proper education. Christian, quote unquote, Christian religious precepts and Anglo-American work habits. And when that wasn't enough, racially cleansed the area of all indigenous people 184 years ago. And we get the land. We have the land. Sad story about those Muskogee, those Yuchi, those Cherokee, but as the saying goes, finders keepers, losers weepers. When we got here, the land was empty. And now, a different story, a different tack, I call embracing our guilt. In my big Catholic family, back in rural central Minnesota in the 60s, our dad said that when we hit age 13, we were allowed to go to the Minnesota State Fair, the biggest event of our year for the big kids. We got $5, which had to last us all day long, and when we got there at 8 in the morning till when we left at 8 in the evening, that was it. At the end of the 1960s, there were 5 of us big kids that left with our dad at 6 o'clock in the morning in the VW van for the 1.5-hour trip down to St. Paul. Dad parked, we all got out, decided where we were gonna go, and my twin brother John and I, being the newbies that year, started out with our dad because we had no idea of how big the place was or its layout. Dad always started on Machinery Hill, what we called Tractor Hill. So we went with him listening to the brand names of the tractors, John Deere, International Harvester, Massey Ferguson, names of the tractors, tractor attachments, the spreader, the tiller, the disker, the planter, the hay rake, the baler, and quickly got bored and struck out on our own to find where all those smells of beautiful food, Tiny Tim donuts and corn dogs were coming from. Every year, Dad started out there. For the next 4 years, John and I walked up there to the northeast side of the fairgrounds with Dad, feeling more and more like we knew the place, and went on our own way. During those years, at least 3 times that I can remember, Dad also took us all, Mom and 12 of us kids, the last one came after I'd left home, up to his cousin's farm for Thanksgiving with her and her very farm family, farther east and north by Pine City. From our introduction to the state fair to our Thanksgiving dinners on Aunt Regina's farm, we learned that our dad had spent his boyhood summers working on the farm. And that sufficed as explanation for us as kids for our dad's knowledge and continued interest in farm machinery and rural life. We also knew that he grew up in St. Paul, the city, as did our mom too, and that was his origins. Around age 14, with winter boredoms and summer reliefs from the heat, I also noticed in our basement, cool place, in falling apart, water-damaged storage boxes and books and ping pong table, some postcards and a couple of books written in a strange language that I learned was Czech. The language of our dad's Bohemian ancestors who had come to America in 1868, settled in Cleveland, Ohio. It wasn't until I was into my 40s and a committed genealogist that I started focusing on tracking down the story of my great-grandfather and his sister, František and Katarzyna Kunish, after their double wedding to Maria Patak and Václav Pataček, respectively, at St. Prokop's in Cleveland in 1880. It was their absence from the big city directory of Cleveland and its brass foundries on the west side 4 years later that led me to discover that my great-grandparents and Katarzyna and Václav had moved 840 miles due west to homestead 80-acre farms in Wahoo, Nebraska. They lasted there 8 years, František and Maria did, before František wanted more trees and more land, and moved the family up to Pine City, Minnesota, to homestead a 160-acre farm. We have photographs of František and Maria at their homesteads in Nebraska and Minnesota with their 8 kids as adults, and even with their grandkids, including my dad and his brothers and sisters. With his brothers, he didn't have any sisters. Dad used to reminisce a little about his summers working on the farm, and he used to really enjoy living in a small town with us kids surrounded by farms and driving 20 miles of back roads on Sundays to go to a different church. His annual pilgrimage to the state fair and his ritual beginnings at Machinery Hill with all the tractors and plowing and planting implements reminded us kids of his summers on the farm and our Bohemian family side of homesteading a section of land. 80 acres in Nebraska, 160 acres in Minnesota. What we knew about our mom's side of the family is that Grandpa was born on the reservation in North Dakota, tribal member of the Standing Rock Lakota Oyate, then moved to St. Paul. End of story. That was her side. What we didn't learn till we were adults and as I was doing our genealogy is that our mom's great-uncle Josef Wenisch owned the 160-acre family farm just northeast of where she grew up in North St. Paul. Later in her life, our mom supplied one story from her childhood of her farm aunts carrying a big basket of eggs and butter for sale on the streetcar running from Matamidi to downtown St. Paul during the Depression. As mixed blood, I carry these stories, these histories with me in mind, flowing back and forth from reservation stories of my Lakota grandpa on buckboards out in the middle of the Dakotas on horses shooting rattlesnakes on the one side, and Bohemian settlers growing corn and beans and raising cows and pigs and chickens on the other, homesteading a total of 400 acres of what once was indigenous Dakota land. Indigenous peoples of Minnesota and the plains, and then colonists breaking the land, the grasslands, and tractoring the earth for more fellow white people. We didn't think of it as a family of contradiction. And our collective Catholic assimilation, Bohemian and Lakota, made sure it wasn't. We were all, red and white, very well indoctrinated into the American empire and practiced well the Pax Americana that our U.S. Army and Navy, that many of us, including myself, respectfully and gladly served in, enforced around the world. Pax Americana. That is all to say that while I talk decolonizing from an indigenous perspective, I also feel a great responsibility to hold me and my family to account for the 1870 house in Cleveland, Ohio, and the 400 acres of homesteaded lands in Nebraska and Minnesota that my white family settled and occupied to ensure the continued displacement of indigenous tribes and replacement with white people. Genealogy, the accumulation of family history and data, and stories of travels and marriages and kids, is hard enough without considering the ethics of the situations these immigrants found themselves in. Expanding American empire through state-sanctioned Lebensraum, expansionism, and occupation. So I sit on the razor blade of mixed blood, white and red, torn by allegiance to both sides, the original landed people and the newcomers, to tell you more of the stories of the wrongs committed by America on indigenous people. I do this with a purpose, to place a seed in your mind of that good old non-Catholic original sin. Not the Catholic kind that they say we inherited metaphysically from Adam and Eve, but the American kind, American original sin, the European land taking and genocide on which this country is built. Something very few of us, even ex-Catholics, should get away with forgetting, much less resolving. As a good Catholic, and I am, even as an atheist, even as even as Quaker, I would like to invite you to the next stop, excuse me, to the next step in decolonizing. Decolonizing after land recognition, which you have done so well on the front door. Examination of conscience. How many of you remember that from your Catholic going to confession on Saturdays? Examination of conscience. You are now aware that there was a so-called Indian boarding school, a euphemism for American concentration camps housing indigenous children, to kill their language and religion and replace it with American Christianity and political allegiance right here in Chattanooga. I assume that most of you were aware that the Cherokee were euphemistically removed from this area, but not aware that there was a concentration camp with the Cherokee's own blessing just 3.5 miles away, where they figured they could absorb some American religion and thereby stay here. What I want to ask you to do is to go deeper, to examine Unitarianism's role in supporting the agenda, and to examine your own family's role in profiting from this land where we sit that was unlawfully and illegally taken from the Cherokee people, not to mention from the Yuchi and the Muskogee who were pushed out by the Cherokee fleeing west and southward. A couple months back, you took the first step towards decolonizing. Today, if you decide to take it, is the second step. To learn about the culture killing, indoctrination, assimilation camp here in Chattanooga the one and only in Tennessee. And not just as an old cemetery place, but in the context of the missionizing to indigenous people that Unitarianism was financially supporting. The Pax Americana that the U.S. Army enforced to open this land for white people like you, and the benefits you enjoy here today, because U.S. America took this land from the Cherokees for us, to live and profit here in the heart of USA Empire. You will, no doubt, try to relieve your settler feelings of guilt or responsibility by reasoning that you were not here in 1838, that you were not here in the 19th century at all, that you should not, cannot be held responsible for buying stolen property. This is one settler moved to innocence that tries to avoid giving up land or power or privilege without having to change much at all. See how that feels in light of the second UUA principle: justice, equity, and compassion in human relations. Consider the legal maxim that justice delayed is justice denied, and the cry of black activists for the past 36 years: no justice, no peace. We whites have been playing Monopoly with get out of jail free tattooed into our white religion, our white army, our white government for the past 500 years. It is time we found out how the genocide developed in Chattanooga. To learn Unitarianism's support for and participation in these USA indoctrination and assimilation camps. To learn why Cherokee themselves thought that American religious assimilation would protect them. And to learn the treaties that took this land from people who were not our people. If you follow Ukraine, think Cherokee. If you think USA should support Ukraine, then think how similar 21st century Russia is to 19th century USA. Think colonization and settlement and occupation in Israel. Read up on how the USA took Puerto Rico and Hawaii straight from indigenous people. Or not. Like I said at the start, I just want to sleep through this, to remain unconscious, to be free of any reaction that somebody could see or hear or react to. I don't want to be pulled into playing this guilt-tripping American original sin. Decolonization means deconstructing America and reconstructing Turtle Island history from an indigenous perspective. Let's look at how white Chattanooga really came to be in the forced absence of red Chattanooga.
Wow, that was a punch, Tom. And a wake-up call. As I said in the beginning, our topic today is decolonizing past and present, and it's not a thing to be shameful. We need to embrace this. It's a new day dawning. So when the sun's coming up, open the curtains and say, okay, we can do this. And Tom's helped us find a way. Thank you so much, Tom. Okay, it's time now for our closing song. Our leader is Christian Horvath. And
Ryan, I'm gonna do it without guitar amplification. We're gonna need a new stand for the second mic. So please Open up your hymnals for song 346, Come Sing a Song with Me. 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 I might know your name. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring you a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. Come dream a dream with me. That I might know your mind. And I'll bring you a hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. Come walk in rain with me. That I might know your mind. And I'll bring you a hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me. Come share a rose with me, that I might know your mind. And I'll bring you hope when hope is hard to find. And I'll bring a song of love and a rose in the winter time. And a rose in the winter time.
Sit, stay. All right, Tom, do you have any final words for us? Are we done? Do what? Yes. The punchline.
One of the reasons I talk like this is how much my family loves Chattanooga, how much I learned from Chattanooga, about Chattanooga, from Charles, from other people, from Nick Honer Camp. And I really love this place, and it just breaks me up coming back here, and it's so emotional driving through. Anyway, so I hope I haven't pissed you off too much. But I do have some other things. Just going to go through the 8 steps, the next 8 steps, or the 8 steps of decolonizing that I just want you to be prepared for. You have taken the first step in decolonizing, the people of the land acknowledgement that you have posted on the front door. We are mid-step number 2. Learning the indoctrination, assimilation camps here in Chattanooga at Brainerd Mission. The next step 3 is learning the treaties, owning the names settler and occupier. I don't know how many Israelis have done that, how many Jewish Israelis have done that, owned the names of settler and occupier. But we also have to learn the treaties that took this land from the Cherokee in 1832. After that is figuring out right and wrong from the indigenous perspective. Up to this date, everything that the USA has done is right. Only when you switch that perspective to an indigenous perspective do you get to the idea that there's a possibility that there is a wrong involved here and a wrong that needs to be rectified. Step 5 is figuring out the legal and ethical principles that were violated from our own temporal perspective, 2022, and what principles were active in the past, 1800, 1490, the first papal bulls and stuff. Use Ukraine and Russia, Palestine and Israel, Algeria and France, Puerto Rico and USA, Hawaii and USA for references. Step 6, farther on, is contacting and establishing a relationship with the Yuchi and the Muskogee, reversing the removal, visiting them in Oklahoma, and attending their public events. Step 7 is determining our historic participation, continued participation in removal, settling, occupying, and determining our individual and communal responsibility. And 8th, resettling Yuchi and Muskogee people back here. Thank you. It's been a great morning here in Chattanooga.
Thank you, Tom. And we will list these 8 steps in the newsletter also. Let's see, now it is time for us to, if Rich, would you come and help us extinguish the chalice? And if you would all join in reading the words in your order of service. We extinguish this flame, but keep the light of truth, the warmth of community, and the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts and share with all the world. And now we have some announcements. Selena, are you around somewhere? Here she comes.
What do you think? Can I keep it short? I hope so. Okay, so I'm assuming all of you are staying for a little while. We have a really special presentation today at 1 o'clock. This is the 3rd week of our summer study series where we're talking about environmental justice in the Chattanooga area. I am particularly excited. Well, I've been excited every time we've met. I am today again. Maggie Schober from the Southern Alliance for Clean Energy is going to be speaking to us. She's driving down here from Knoxville. She's going to talk to us about their Clean Up TVA coalition, but she's going to have a lot of information about clean energy as well. So that's going to start at 1 o'clock. We might start a couple of minutes early. We'll see. Also, because we've got this nice long break in between. So it's about 5 minutes after 12 right now. In the meantime, we have some sandwiches. And Elaine just brought in some deviled eggs, too, and some dessert, too. And we have some drinks. And starting at about 12:25, 12:30, we'll pull out the food. And we can have a light lunch together. Mostly that's going to be outside because of the high COVID numbers. So please brace yourself for that as well. Feel free to not wear your mask when you're outside, but when you come inside, leave your mask on. That'll be from 1 o'clock until about 2 o'clock, depending on how many questions we all have also. But I hope you'll stay. If you can't stay today, next Sunday, we're going to have a representative from the Southeast, the Southern Environmental Law Center is going to be here. That'll be at 9:30 in the morning. So that's a week from today. But today we're meeting at 1 o'clock and stay for lunch. Is that all? Is that all? Okay, good. That's all.
Thank you, Selena. Let's see, who's the next on our list here? Carol Hobbs, would you come and make an announcement, please, about our meeting? Come on, you can do this.
We've messed up. We have scheduled and emailed our Fall Art Creatives group to have a brief meeting today, so there's 2 things going on today. But those of you in the Fall Art Creative group, if you want to meet at 15 after for like a 15-minute discussion of where we are with our fall project, we'll be downstairs, and then we can join the others. Thank you.
Thank you, Carol. Let's see, what do we have now? Summer nights with Christian.
First, before I forget, you got about 1 hour, so you can text all of your friends and family to be here by 1 o'clock. Beside of that, next Saturday night is our second Summer Night Series event for this summer. We're gonna go into the ballpark, and I want to ask you all of you to join me to challenge my knowledge of baseball. It's about that big. So would be wonderful. Next Saturday, we meet at 6:45 at the AT&T Stadium. It's going to be the Chattanooga Lookouts against Rocket City. And then for bring your kids and youth along, because it's going to be a fun evening having lots of costumed characters. The super stars kind of coming. So it should be a lot of fun evening. And for people like me, kind of a lot of food out there. So 6:45, the game starts at 7:15. You find the information in the newsletter, also on Facebook. You can contact me. I'll be happy to buy the tickets beforehand. They are only $10 or $8, depending adults, seniors, children. Or we can buy them this evening, or you can buy them on your own. Thanks.
Thank you, Christian. All right, come on up, Andy.
Now, this only applies to if you're on the board. It's my first board meeting as board president next Tuesday at 6:30. How exciting. So if you're on the board, please be there. And Farron will be sending out the Zoom announcements tomorrow, so we'll all have the link to Zoom in at 6:30 on Tuesday to talk about our agenda. So thanks, everybody.
All right, do we have any more announcements? Come on up.
Hello, everyone. My name is Camille Mason. I'm the Director of Religious Education here. I just wanted to make a little announcement. We are looking for teachers and assistants for in the fall. At UUCC, one of our values is our religious education. And so if you are interested in helping out, please let me know. You can email me at dre@uucc.org, or you can come talk to me. I will be out here. So thank you.
All right, thank you, and I believe that concludes our performance for today. Steve will play us out with our postlude, which is going to be totally fun. This is The Entertainer by Scott Joplin.